Lancia, at least for part of its history, has stood out for the class, style, innovation and performance of its cars. Some of these, for quality, charm, and success in competitions, have become true myths. Others have not yet had their moment of glory, but they deserve to be known and re-evaluated. That's 10 cars to take home before their prices become inaccessible. The Gamma Coupe, designed by Aldo Broveroni, is considered one of the most beautiful cars of the 1970s. The version to be preserved is the 2500 IE of the second series, more modern in design, more attention to detail, more reliable in mechanics. In this 3-volume 2-door coupe, traction, as a Lancia tradition, is on the front wheels. The engine is the latest evolution of the historic 4-cylinder Lancia Boxer. In this version it has a displacement of 2484 cc, equipped with Bosch Algetronic injection, is strong at 140 horsepower at 5,400 revolutions per minute, and a torque of almost 21 kilograms at 3,000. The gearbox is 5-speed, 4-wheel disc brakes with Super Duplex system, standard power steering. The wheels have a modern measure for the period, 195/60/15. The weight is 1,290 kilograms. Performance is high, but not extreme. Consumption varies according to the speed. The second series of Gamma Coupe was produced between 1980 and 1984, the 2500 IE, in only 1,209 specimens. Why buy it? To use it, even on a daily basis, and enjoy its personality, its performance, and its exclusivity. To be able to show it off in any context, without feelings of inferiority. Why collect it? For the beautiful design by Aldo Broveroni. For the Pininfarina construction. For the small number of units produced. What to pay attention to? Some parts of the bodywork, subject to rust. Some delicate mechanical components. Some spare parts, that cannot be found. Presented at the 1982 Turin show, the VX is the flagship version of the Trevi, the latest descendant of the Beta. It is the first official application of the Abarth Volumex compressor on a Group Fiat car. The personal aesthetics, the refined interiors, and a specialized mechanicals, make it very interesting. In 1983, it underwent a very slight restyling, which involved the new freezes, various quality improvements, and slightly longer gear ratios, to improve fuel consumption. It is a classic 3-volume sedan, with small dimensions, and not excessive weight. The mechanicals are strong in the 2-liter twin-shaft fueled by a Weber double-barrel carburetor, and supercharged by the famous Volumex compressor. The power is 135 horsepower at 5,500 revolutions per minute, while the torque is 21 kilograms at 3,000 revolutions per minute. Traction is front, 5-speed gearbox, 4-wheel disc brakes with Super Duplex system, standard power steering, and tires more focused on comfort than performance. The performances are high for the reference sector, the declared consumptions are discrete, but the actual ones are quite high. After an initial sales success, in the first months of marketing, in 1982, deliveries slowed down, until the end of production, in 1984, after 3,844 units produced. Why buy it? For the design, not excellent, but eccentric and personal. For driving pleasure, for comfort, for performance. For the mechanicals, the engine, if well serviced, is reliable and sturdy. Why collect it? It is the first supercharged Lancia to be officially marketed. Mechanical care is Abarth, and increasingly rare. What to pay attention to? Some body parts, subject to rust. Consumption, really high, if you use it sportingly. Some unobtainable details. At the end of his career, the small Lancia Coupè receives the 2-liter Volumex. Aesthetically, it can be recognized by the front spoiler, the hump on the engine hood, the rubber spoiler on the rear hood. Internally, it is the same as the other Beta Coupè, but on request, it is possible to mount the Recaro sports seats. The mechanicals, apart from the engine, the gearbox with longer ratios, the power steering and the enhanced brakes, are the same as in the other 2000 versions. On the road, it offers high performance, and great driving fun. On guided tours, it still has a respectable speed today. It is a compact and light coupé, with 4 single seats. The engine is the well-known twin-shaft already seen on the Trevi, same characteristics and values. The rest of the mechanicals is also in common with the Trevi. Power steering is standard. Performance is high, but those recorded at the time were slightly worse than stated, while consumption, like all Volumex, is high. Remained in production for about 2 years, it totaled only 1,272 units built. Why buy it? For the personality of Piero Castagnero's design. For true driving fun, and high performance. Why collect it? It is the maximum evolution of the Lancia small Coupè concept. For Abarth care. For the rarity. What to pay attention to? Any body parts, subject to rust. Some unobtainable details. If you enjoy the fun it offers, consumption goes up a lot. At the same time as the Coupè VX, the HP Executive Volumex is presented, the most prestigious version of the beautiful Lancia sports estate, a car perhaps born too early, anticipating solutions that will only be seen 10 years later. The VX is distinguished by the front spoiler, the hump on the hood, the rear spoiler, the more massive exhaust. Also, on the HPE it is possible to mount the exclusive Recaro seats, on request. And the performance is high, and, in this case, driving fun is combined with roominess and practicality. It is called a Coupè, but it is a successful mix between the sports car and the station wagon. Longer than the Coupè, from which it derives, and from which the design of the front part remains unchanged, it is slightly heavier. The mechanicals are the same as the Coupè, the same Lampredi twin shaft with vitamins from Abarth, the same power and torque values, the same mechanical characteristics. The declared performances are similar to the Coupè, the measured data are slightly worse, even if the particular aerodynamics make it faster. Consumption, as Volumex tradition, is high, presented together with the Coupè, in 1982, together with the Coupè, that came off the list, in 1984, with more commercial fortunes, it totaled 2,369 units. Why buy it? A very valid alternative to many modern station wagon. It is the second perfect car, sporty and comfortable. Performance, style, practicality in a single car. It lends itself to everyday use. Why collect it? For the characteristics of the project. For the unique personality, and an unmistakable style. For the Abarth care. For the rarity. What to pay attention to? Some parts of the bodywork, subject to rust. The interiors, that may appear worn, especially in the rear and in the loading area. Some spare parts that cannot be found. Also in this case with high consumption. Presented in July 1983, the Delta HF is based on the GT1600. On the original Gidro design, various spoilers and moldings, new color contrasts, and the HF plates are inserted. Internally, more profiled seats, leather-saddled steering wheel, Zanga-wool upholstery. Instrumentation enriched by innovative LED indicators. On request, it is possible to equip it with Recaro seats. The most important interventions are aimed at mechanicals. Engine, gearbox, brakes, suspension are revised. The car shows great character and performance at the top of the category and beyond. It has good road holding, but in sporty driving, it has nervous reactions attributed to an unsuitable steering and to the original equipment Michelin TRXs. Initially, sales are struggling to take off because it was, mistakenly, considered unreliable, but after the first victories in the rallies of the 037 first and the Delta S4 later, the HF is quite successful. At the end of 1984, the Martini Limited Series was presented. It is characterized by the body and wheels paints in Saratoga white. The sides are covered by a thin adhesive profile, with the Martini colors, which also appear on the identification plates. Internally, Recaro seats upholstered in black Alcantara, with embroidered Martini colors, which are also seen on the door panels and headlining. The red seatbelts complete the customization. The versions for the English market have most extensive side decals. In 1985, the HF underwent a slight restyling that affects all Delta models. It is now called HF Turbo, and is recognized for the famous 8-hole round wheels that will accompany all Delta HFs until the advent of the Evolution. The identification plates change. Internally, the 3-spoke Abarth steering wheel that will be mounted on subsequent Delta HFs. On a mechanical level, the only significant change is the replacement of the criticized Michelin TRX tires with traditional 165/65/14, which improve road holding and the car's reactions. At the end of 1985, the limited Martini series is reproposed. The well-known compact 5-door hot hatch is equipped with the supercharged version of the Fiat Lancia twin-cam engine. Equipped with a double inverted Weber carburetor, it is supercharged by a Garrett T3 turbocharger, with mechanical wastegate and knock sensor, and fitted with an intercooler, an uncommon presence in turbochargers of the period. The power and torque values are remarkable, placing it at the top of the category. The gearbox is 5-speed ZF Sports, 4-wheel disc brakes, front-wheel drive. The declared performances were greatly improved in the instrumental checks. The acceleration and reprise times are still of the highest order today. Consumption is affected by the speed. Produced from 1983 to the first months of 1986, when it was replaced by the HF Turbo Electronic Injection 140 horsepower, over 13,000 units were produced, including the precious limited series Martini. Why buy it? It has performances that humiliate certain current sport cars. In terms of charm and character, it is at the top of the sporty young-timers. For the HF Lancia, Martini, Raleigh, 80s atmosphere that it conveys. The engine, if treated with care, is reliable and robust. Why collect it? It is the world premiere of the sacred and fortunate Delta HF lineage. It was the first to flaunt the HF logo, since the retirement of the Fulvia Coupè and the Stratos. It is the first production Lancia to be supercharged with a turbocharger. The unobtainable Martini versions should be preferred. It cannot be missing from a respectable Lancia collection. What to pay attention to? The known structural problems of the Delta body. Some specific details that cannot be found in sporty driving. If the car has DRX tires, the reactions are from professional drivers. When you succumb to the lure of the turbo and want to drive sporty, that is practically always, consumption is really high. Presented in April 1986, on the occasion of the restyling of the Prisma, the 4WD is the most exclusive version. Aesthetically similar to the 1600, it is distinguished by the standard alloy wheels, and the side skirts with 4WD plate, which also appears on the grille, and on the tail. Fog lights are standard. Internally, the refined atmosphere of all Prisma remains, with robust and refined fabrics. The instrumentation incorporates the graphics of the Delta Sports. The mechanicals see the well-known 2-liter twin-cam, combined with the all-wheel drive system of the Delta HF 4WD, with the exclusivity of manual locking, via a button on the dashboard, of the rear differential, which increases the possibility of using the car in extreme conditions. In August 1987, the 4WD was replaced by the Integrale, which takes up the famous name of the Delta. Externally, it is the same, the alloy wheels change, of the same design, but with a diamond finish. Headlight washers and mud flaps are part of the standard equipment. On request, it is possible to obtain the special 2-color metallic paints that make the Integrale more exclusive: gray tone on tone, gray amaranth, platinum ink. Internally, Alcantara upholstery, and the wording, rear lock, on the differential lock button. In this Prisma 4WD, the usual 2-liter Lampredi twin-cam offers 115 horsepower and good torque. The gearbox has 5-speed. The traction is permanent on 4 wheels, with 3 differentials, the rear one, equipped with manual locking. The disc brakes on the 4 wheels. Power steering is standard, 185/60/14 wheels, relatively low mass, performance is good, consumption is affected by the driving style. Born in 1986, with the marketing of the substitute Dedra, in 1989, the 4-wheel drive Prisma leaves the scene, with a total of about 4,200 built. Why buy it? Performance for practicality and safety on the road. The manual locking of the rear differential allows you to go, almost, anywhere. Why collect it? The genetic code is that of the Delta HF. The mechanical refinement. The peculiarity of the 2-tone paintwork of the Integrale, which are the most sought after and to be privileged specimens. What to watch out for? Some parts of the body that are prone to rust. Some mechanical parts delicate if scrambled. Specific details almost impossible to find. Some mechanical and setup details, in common with the Delta, have goldsmith prices. Presented in April 1986, it is the Italian answer to the new fashion of the class station wagon. Lancia realizes it with its own style. Pininfarina design, interior in chenille zenga, or Alcantara, or leather, many accessories. The one to bet on is the IE Turbo, first series, aesthetically discreet, refined in the interior, exuberant in performance. At the end of the 1980s, it was a status symbol. On the road it is fast and comfortable. The load compartment is immense. Equipped with the same engine as the Delta HF4WD, the 2-liter twin-cam, powered by Weber electronic injection, and supercharged by a Garrett T3 turbocharger with overboost and intercooler. The power and torque values are notable for the period. 5-speed gearbox, 4-disc braking system with ABS on request. Tires more suited to a quiet sedan than a fast SW. The declared performances are high, those detected are even more so. Consumption is good at normal speeds. They go up using the mechanicals. This particular version has been on the list for just over 2 years, about 3,600 specimens are assumed. Why buy it? For performance and driving pleasure. For high comfort and practicality. Why collect it? For Pininfarina design and semi-handmade construction. For the rarity. What to pay attention to. Some details practically impossible to find. Some delicate internal plastics. At the beginning of 1991, Lancia expanded the Dedra offer, with 2 sports cars in disguise, the 2000 Turbo and the Integrale. They are distinguished by the 15-inch alloy wheels, side skirts, the identification plates, and a discrete spoiler on the luggage hood, standard on the Integrale and on request on the Turbo, and on request, it was possible to eliminate it from the Integrale. Internally, sportier seats upholstered in fabric and Alcantara, on request, total Alcantara or leather. 4-spoke sports steering wheel, covered in leather. Despite its elegant and discreet appearance, on the road it reveals a true sports car character, with excellent performance, and superlative road holding, especially the Integrale. The braking is powerful, the steering is better than many declared sports cars. Since February 1993, on the occasion of a slight restyling, their name is HF, to emphasize the character of these sports sedans. Yet another version of the well-known 2-liter Fiat Lancia twin-cam, powered by the Weber system, supercharged by an electronically controlled Garrett turbo, overboost and intercooler. The turbo has a boost pressure of 0.8 bar which limits the power to 165 horsepower, the Integrale has a boost pressure brought to 0.95, and the power is 180 horsepower. The torque is practically unchanged. 5-speed gearbox, 4-disc brakes with ABS, sports tires. Sportively revised suspension, and the possibility, on request, to have electronic trim adjustment, via a selector on the dashboard. The 2000 Turbo is a front-wheel drive with Visco drive system. For the Integrale, permanent all-wheel drive, with 3 differentials, the rear with manual locking, via a button on the dashboard. Very high performance, consumption adapted to the power. Their production lasted just over 3 years, for a total of about 5,000 estimated specimens. Why buy it? Very high performances, and superlative road holding. Visco drive for turbo, rear lock for Integrale. Well-made and sturdy cars. Why collect it? Represent the maximum evolution of the Lancia 4-wheel drive. The survivor are few. Why to pay attention to? Some spare parts that cannot be found. Some internal plastics tend to become sticky. Some components of front suspension weaken. The Delta HF 836 is a valid personal car, with top-of-the-segment fittings and finishes. The 5-door is a 2-volume Dedra, the particular rear cut, defined, at variable volumes, by the Idea Institute, that developed the design, is questionable, but not trivial. The 3-door version, called HPE, which replaced it in 1995, is more successful and sporty. Both have sophisticated and luxurious interiors, especially when equipped with Recaro sports seats. It is a spacious car with full equipment. The rigid suspension partially compromises the comfort on board. At the end of her career, she was given a sportier and closer to the HF spirit. Full painting in bright colors, among all, yellow, the red, and the unobtainable white. The Zender aerodynamic kit was available on request. 16-inch wheels, with design of the legendary Monte Carlo of the Delta HF Evolution. Internally, Recaro seats, covered in tobacco-colored Alcantara and black leather. Compact, with 3 or 5 doors, with a personal design, it has an important weight, due to the strength and body. The mechanicals are developed on the experiences of the Delta E Integrale and Dedra Turbo. The engine is a twin-cam, 16-valve, supercharged with a Garrett turbo with electronic pressure control, overboost and intercooler. 5-speed gearbox, Visco drive system, 4-disc brakes with ABS 205/50/15 tires and, since 1998, 215/45/16. Upon request, electronically controlled suspension. Exceptional performance, quite high consumption. Very high level road holding, but to drive it quickly, you need to know how to do it. Produced, in the various versions, from 1993 to 2000, totaled about 6,000 copies. Why buy it? Is, perhaps, the only legal way left, to take home, a reasonably price, a Delta HF Turbo 16V. It is a well-made, well-finished, well-equipped, robust and reliable car. It has exaggerated performance, and excellent road holding, gives great emotions. Why collect it? It is, the latest testimony of the HF brand and spirit. The engine and the character, are those of Delta Evolution. We do not pretend to compare it, to the immortal charm of the integrale HF, but an HPE, with the Zender kit, the right color. It makes perfect sense, what to pay attention to? Some spare parts, are almost impossible to find. Some interior plastics tend to become sticky. Engine maintenance, is to be followed scrupulously, especially the belts, must be replaced at shorter intervals than average. The design, is not the most beautiful that the Lancia has presented. Yet years later, the Coupè Coupè, is still talking about itself. Daughter of a compromise, she still has her own personality which, the more time passes, the more it is recognized. The design, combines successful parts with cloying details, but the whole makes sense. The interiors are spectacular, Recaro armchairs with electric adjustment, successful color and material contrasts, refined finishes. If then, you come across an specimen, ordered to measure by drawing on the Kaleidos leather program, practically all, the surprise, when opening the door, can be one that leaves its mark. The supply of accessories is considerable, and it was possible to draw, on a supplied catalog to expand it. The comfort, is that of a sedan. Of a very fast sedan. This large Coupè, has, under the hood, one of the best engines made by Fiat, in the last 30 years. The 2-liter 5-cylinder, 4 valves per cylinder, Garrett TD28 turbo, overboost and intercooler. It also has a particular manifold, designed to optimize performance and reduce consumption. The power and torque values, are very high for a 2-liter. The gearbox is 5-speed, Visco drive system, brakes with ABS and ABD, underpowered tires for performance and design. The mass is considerable, but it is a really well-built car, with a lot of safety features. On request, electronically controlled suspension. The performances are remarkable, and the maximum speed is close to 250 km per hour. Acceleration and reprise, are no less. Consumption is affected by the driving adopted. This particular version, was presented in 1998, on the occasion of the restyling of the Coupè, and produced until 2000, in about 1,100 copies. Why buy it? It is a very fast lounge. Surprising road holding and agility, thanks to the reduced wheelbase and the right setup. He may like it or not, but his personality is undeniable. Why collect it? It is the latest Lancia Coupè. It has a semi-handmade construction, due to the Maggiore, that assembled it. The mix of technical features, the small number of specimens produced, and the even smaller number of those that survived. What to pay attention to? That the maintenance was scrupulous. Some interventions, require many hours of manpower, and many owners, they put them off for better times. Some spare parts are difficult to find.